I love printing. I love printing. I love it. I love printing. Hey everybody, welcome back to another show edition special of Printer to Printer with me, Warren Werbitt, otherwise known as the Print Whisperer, if you can see that. Today, we have a young chap on the line with us live. We have Taylor Sellinger. Did I get that right?
You did. You nailed it.
Oh, thank God. From Premier Graphics out in Vancouver, BC. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Before anything, why don't you just give us a little lowdown on Premier?
Yeah, so Premier Graphics is a full-service, large-format print company. We are also installers, so we have our own in-house install team, which I believe currently is actually the largest install team of 3M preferred graphics installers in the country, so we're pretty proud of that. We're doing all kinds of stuff, but all strictly large format, big into a lot of commercial projects, construction hoardings. We're working at height. We do a lot of specialty projects. We're kind of well known in the city for some problem solving on some pretty unique projects. We have under our belts what I understand was the largest outdoor art installation in the country here in Vancouver. Cool. Under the Cambie Street Bridge. It was around 19,000 square feet of graphic applied to concrete pillars and the underpass of a highway and the floor. It was incredible. So I guess 3 other companies had passed on it, but here we were, it landed in our laps and we killed it. So yeah, we're loving what we do for sure. Right now, especially we're working around the clock, literally in some cases. We're busy as can be.
Awesome. I got to ask you, how old are you? Because you don't look that old.
Thank you. I am 33.
Like I said, you don't look that old.
Yeah.
Wow, you have nice hair.
Thank you. Yeah, it's still here.
Well, hey, was that a shot?
No, I've been in print for 14 years.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we chatted a little before, but just tell me a little bit about Premier, you getting there, just being that you're so young. And I want to know, I love talking to young people, way younger than me in the industry, but before Premier even, what got you in it? What keeps you in it? And how do you get juiced? Because, not a lot of young people are passionate about it right now. I want to get more, but.
Yeah. So the Cliff Notes version of my story is I grew up in the construction industry. That's what my family does. I have a big family. Everybody was into construction. So that's what I started doing when I was young. I ended up moving to close to your area, Sherbrooke, married a nice gal.
Sorry. Yeah, no.
Yeah. But it, worked out well, married a nice gal from out there. And I was still in construction, but as you know, things in Quebec, very complicated, especially for an English guy.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Construction industry, it didn't work out. We'll leave it at that. And it just happened that my father-in-law had a small print shop. He, at the time, actually worked out of a shop on his property, just him and another guy. And then I was in his shop one day and I thought, this is kind of interesting. He had a Coroplast sign sitting there and I could see the layout and the vinyl. And he was kind of busy doing something. And I just said, well, I'll tape this up. I know how to do this, make sure this is straight and centered. And I just went and installed it. And he came around the corner. He says, oh, wow, that's great. And I said, maybe I should do this for work. I could work with you, help you out. He says, oh, I don't have any money to pay you. And I said, well,
good old family business.
What could you pay me? And I think at the time it was something like, how about $15 an hour, 2 days a week? And I said, yeah, sure. That's fine. We didn't need much money at the time. So,
were you living in his house at the same time?
No. Soon enough, I think it was full-time nearly immediately. And then we grew out of that shop very quickly. We went to a 3,500 square foot shop after that, and then grew again. And I think by the time I ended up moving out west, which I gave him something like 6 to 8 months notice and really worked my way out of the business before I left to come back out west. I think we were something like 11 employees or so in about a 5-year period. We were tackling some of the largest fleets across Canada. I got my first taste of sleeping on the floor of the shop because I'm running roll after roll after roll to keep up with some big projects. Came out west, got a taste for a bit of a bigger, hungrier market in graphics. And then decided it was time to do my own thing. And 2 months before COVID hit, bought into the company that I'm in now.
Cool.
Premier Graphics, which the short story on that is it used to be really 2 companies. There was an installation only side of the business that I believe at the time was Canada's largest install only company. There was nothing to do with production. And that was one of the partners. And then Premier Graphics was a production side. They handled some large national fleets. They had kind of a niche in the market. And one of our suppliers says years ago, he said, "You guys are the greatest little company that nobody's ever heard of."
Stay that way.
Yeah, we were kind of in the shadows a little bit. When I came on board, it was kind of time. We said we want to change that. We want to, get out into the marketplace, gain some market share, flex our muscles a little bit, and see what can happen. So in the last 3.5 years, we've grown from about 10 employees to now 23.
Cool.
So during COVID, when a lot of companies were kind of shrinking back and deciding to, lay off some staff or take things a little bit easier, cautious, really control spending, we basically did the opposite. We doubled down and invested everything we could back into the company. And the space that we started in 3 years ago, which was quite small, is only about 3,000 square feet. It was a very small shop. And now we're going to be growing into about 14,000 square feet here in the next coming months. So we're already in a much larger facility. We actually have 2 addresses now, but we're conglomerating everything into one. So the growth has been pretty extreme, which is very exciting. I have no problem with stomaching some risk, and that's been a really exciting trip for sure.
Cool. So I'll just tell you, as you go from 3,000 square feet to 14,000 feet, my experience when we went from whatever to whatever, you're kind of like, oh my God, all this space, and we could space things out and do it properly. Don't space things out too much. Think tight. Think tight, because when you space things out, before you know it, you'll be busy using up all that space, but wasting a lot of space.
I know.
And as you do the growth thing from the 3 to the 14 to the up, that's when you want to watch your money.
Yeah. We're realizing already. We thought at first, man, this is going to be a lot of space. It came up. It was such a kind of a fluke moment. 2 different leases, but both adjacent neighbors to us. Both leases came up at the same time. Both decided to leave. And so we just said, you know what, this is the time. We're doubling down again. Here we go. We're going into this new space. And we thought at first, man, this is going to be a lot. But now that we've had about, a month or 2 to kind of think about it, we're going, I don't know, man. I think we're going to fill this up really quick, because there's been some production runs, some that we're in the middle of right now, that it is just packed.
Yeah. And look at like how many of those big jobs you actually have a year, because if you don't have tons, then at least your mind is in the space of making use of what you have and not beating yourself up thinking you need more space. Because it's really easy in a few of those jobs to think, oh, this times 10 means, right? When we had 80,000 square feet, we used to do some plastic offset jobs where, 100,000 sheets of plastic is 50, 60, 70 big skids, 56 inch. So at first I'm like, oh my God, we're out of space. And then like, I don't have another job like that for 3 months. I'm like, oh, look at all this space.
Yeah, exactly. So, it sits there empty, but you're still paying for it.
But that's, I think that's awesome, especially times like now, to be coming together and, looking to double down and take more and do more.
Yeah.
I will tell you, because I didn't really know who you guys were before, and I don't even know how I came across the site. Maybe you replied to something or something, but when I went to your website, I will tell you, very cool website. And I like to call that out because I'm looking at the website, and when I look at it, I see just people. When I get to your team, although everything's black and white, everyone just has a good look to them, and I get a good vibe, right? A lot of printers and large format don't get it. They're still putting machines on the front of their websites. Only owners like machines because we pay for them and we want to see them.
Yeah, thank you for actually bringing that out. We had an interesting time. We hired somebody in more of a management role, and I was walking him around and showing him, around the shop. And as we were walking around, I was saying, this is so and so. This is what so and so does. This is so and so. Here's what so and so does. And I introduced him to all the people, and we chatted for a while. And then the next day, he accepted an offer after a second interview, and away we went. And then he told me after a couple of weeks of working together, we were having lunch together, I think. And he said, I had another job already lined up when I took yours. I had to call them and cancel it. And I said, oh, that's interesting. It seems kind of risky, because I said, when you called and canceled, I hadn't even sent you the offer yet, because he canceled it right after the first interview. And he says, yeah, no, I know. He goes, I knew this is the place I needed to be. And so I said, well, why? He said, well, when I walked around that other shop, Everybody was working in there. Their heads were down there working. And he says, the owner walked me around and said, this is this machine and this is what it does. This is this machine and this is
You
what it does.
introduced them to people.
And I introduced them to people.
Love it.
And yeah. So
Love
I
it.
said, yeah, well, anybody can buy this equipment. It's just a lease payment. But taking care of people is a whole nother story.
So it's funny you say that, and I'm going to tell you of a story. When I was not that much younger, but I think a bunch of years ago, there was a company called Cameo Craft, and the gentleman who was running it, owned it, his family, he was Larry Kendall. He was about 70-something years old. His father had started it. His son, Mitch, was in the business. But when I was speaking with him, he invited me over to come see the plant, and it was Flexo, right? A lot of labels. They had multiple plants and packaging. And when we walked through the plant, he introduced me to all the people working in all the different stations. And he didn't really talk about the equipment. And they had the latest state of the art, 10, 12, 13, 14 colors, Flexo, letterpress, all worked into the offset, the whole 9 yards. But he introduced me to all the people, and he'd say, hey, Warren, this is Larry. Larry's been working here for 32 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew every single person. And I watched the people. And when I went back to my place after, and I had people coming in, I started copying what Larry did and introduced the people to the people I was walking with. So Jack, how long have you been here? Why have you been here?
Yeah.
Right. I learned, and you've said it, it's all about the people first.
Yeah.
Because our customers don't know anything about our equipment.
Yes. Nor do they want to know.
They don't want to. I remember that we used to have salespeople would say to us, oh, run that job over there. And I'd say, no, we quote the job the way we have to. When the job is in the shop, production will decide where they do it, not your business.
Yeah. Everybody that we've interviewed over the last little while, I have offered them, I said, after the second or third interview, and we're kind of convinced on our end that this is a good fit, and we can see that they feel the same. I've offered, if you would like to talk to any of our employees privately, let me know. I can arrange it. It's no problem. If you want to ask them some questions, no problem at all. We have nothing to hide. We take that pretty seriously.
Well, you have to today, right? And imagine that guy, think about it. That guy canceled the other one, and he knew that if he didn't come to you, he wasn't good over there either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
He took a risk.
He made a calculated call because he knew he didn't want to end up there more than he knew he wanted to be at your place.
Yeah. And even though when you look on our site, you see some young, there's young faces on there for sure, but some of these people have worked here for over 10 years already. So it's been, in some cases, it's one of their first serious jobs, but they've stayed.
So question, we mentioned Mark before, who's your partner.
Yeah.
Right. And he was in his 60s.
Yep. And there's a third partner, Jordan, who is my age as well.
Okay. And is Jordan family to?
Yes. It's his son.
Okay. So leave out Jordan for a minute, just because you and him are good. How is it working with Mark? Do you notice, are there any, I don't know how to be politically correct, are there any issues between like the generations, the age gap, the way you want to do things and see them and the way he sees them?
I would say, the answer to that, the simple answer is yes. But like anything in life, that balance, I think, is what creates the success. So I think there's, it's a different style of approaching many different situations. But there's so many things that we learn from each other, like literally every day. He sits kitty corner from me. We have a bullpen style office for the management. So we're not separated by walls. We sit right across from each other. We hear each other on any phone calls. We have, nothing to hide. We're constantly in communication over many subjects, and we're teaching each other different ways of looking at things every day. And I think that has definitely contributed to the success, because we have a very high mutual respect for each other as well. So there's almost never a headbutt on ideas. There's more of a conversation to make sure we understand each other. And even on ideas where we really differ on one side to another, generally we're both kind of wrong, and we need to settle somewhere, in between.
I'm sure you have situations where you're both saying things differently, but your end result is to be the same.
Yes.
So you got to whittle through that. Listen, I don't know Mark, but I'm going to give him kudos and an imaginary clap behind me, because he's the old guy who's bending to accommodate you.
Yeah. Right. And it's been beneficial to both of us.
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah. I'm just saying, if anyone's listening out there, like, listen to this. I mean, I once had an older guy say to me, how come we can't keep young people in our shop? And I said, you got to stop talking to them.
Yeah.
I said, because you're talking to them and you're listening, but then you don't do anything that they're telling you, and
Yes.
then they move. So put them with a younger person who could you relate to, that then could then translate what they're saying,
Yeah.
right? Because talk is cheap these days. Actions really speak for itself.
Yeah. And he's not by any means stuck in his ways at all. He's very forward thinking as well, so which is really beneficial. There's no convincing him. It's not like when we decide to grow or expand, it's not like there's any convincing that needs to happen. He completely understands, the need for it and the end result, and the goal that we're all trying to work towards. So we know where we are. I always say we're sitting here at A. We know where Z is. All we have to do is figure out the letters in between, and then just knock
That's not so serious.
these steps. Yeah.
As long as you know where you start and where you want to end, the middle you figure out. And
Yeah.
then, so let me ask you, with his son being the same age as you,
Yeah.
how's that all working out? Because I know just from my own experience, when you have father son in the same building under the same roof,
Yeah.
sometimes it's can be not so comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a risk I thought about. We talked about it openly before we ever even started working together. And I mean, the result has been like, it's, really good, and proof is in
Oh,
the pudding.
excellent.
Yeah. So we all have very complementing strengths. We definitely have differing abilities. And where we work in the business reflects that. All of us are very flexible, understanding of each other's personal situations and everything as well, to be accommodating and balancing out, what's important in life to each one of us with the success and the business and the care that we have to put towards it. So there's been really very few issues to speak of.
Cool.
And yeah, definitely a good partnership, just based on the fact that we don't have the same skill set. We're well situated to handle different aspects and profit centers of the business. So
Yeah, it's also important that that partners know how to communicate with one another,
yeah.
right? Because the communication, if it's good and the wording is right,
Yes.
then it's smoother. When the wrong words are used, and I'm smiling because when the wrong words are used, it can go south because the interpretation becomes different than what the delivery is supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's
And
kind of like bad email, right?
that would be my end of things. I'm generally the one, I open my mouth sometimes just to pull my foot out. So I'm a bit of a blunter
Oh,
communicator.
I'm going
So
to give you some
yeah.
personal advice that I learned because I have a similar problem. And I just started a bunch of years ago wearing smaller shoes because they're easier to get out of your mouth when they get stuck.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now I've learned to count to 4 before I respond in case something's there to stop me.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's been good. We've had our challenges just in the growth curve. We call them growing pains. People call them failures. I just say they're kind of stepping stones, and we've learned a lot through them. But one thing that we always try to do is, when we do have a difficult day, a difficult week, or something that just didn't work out how it was supposed to, we take a second, we kind of do a bit of a postmortem, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, what are the lessons learned? What's the next time the same thing happens? What are we going to do? There's never a conversation of how do we avoid this ever happening again, because inevitably it will repeat. So the conversation is, how do we deal with it the next time it comes around?
Yeah, it's also like at home when you're married, right? Don't go to bed without resolving the issues.
That's right.
Right.
That's it.
Might be easier at work, though, to resolve some of the issues.
Sometimes. Yeah.
In terms of employees, people hiring, how's that been?
Yeah, pretty good. Like, definitely challenging. Although I am younger, I was always, I was raised by older brothers and sisters, and I always worked with older people. So I'm probably not quite the same as many people my age or close to my age. I have a different way of thinking. So it is a challenge for sure. We have been extremely fortunate, though, and I will say it's a 50-50 draw on whether that's our own ability to know who we're hiring, or just kind of plain, happenstance or chance, or whatever you want to call it, that our hires have worked out very well. But it is difficult. Like, we're constantly hiring, but right now we're hiring for 3 roles, and yeah, it is tough. It's a relatively small pool to choose from, especially when you're trying to grow what we are. You're really looking for some anomalies, or whatever you want to call it. I talked to some people about who we're wanting to hire and what we want them to do, with our suppliers, and they're going, I don't know if that person exists, but yeah, but that's who I want. It's who I need. So I have to find out who they are. So, but we have been very fortunate.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I like the market out in Vancouver. Are you in Vancouver
We're
Central or?
we're like a 5 minutes drive from the Vancouver city limits. The town we're actually in is called Richmond.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah, where the
Cool.
airport actually is.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
cool. You do all the airports large format?
No, we have done some. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, they do a lot.
They do. Yeah.
Do you do Whistlers at least?
We've done some work there as well. Yeah. Yeah.
All
For
right.
some of the
Barter for ski
breweries and
tickets?
things. No. Yeah. No.
I always found like all those big places where there's activities and stuff, they all like to barter, for
Yes.
tickets for whatever the event is, or ski tickets,
Yeah.
or
Any sports team, any radio, everybody, they just want to trade.
they
Yeah.
just want to trade. I remember we looked at something for the Grand Prix in Montreal once, and they wanted to like barter, and it was like, we'll give you 100 sets of tickets. I'm like, well, now I become a scalper.
Yeah. What am I going to do with these? Yeah.
Die with them.
Yeah,
That's funny.
that's right.
Anyways, that's cool. Very cool. Yeah, I would encourage everyone to go check out the website. It's running by me right now, and the vibe is really, really cool. I think print's here to stay. It might change, but I don't think it's going anywhere. I think we need to entice younger people like yourself. So it is a pleasure to chat with you, and you seem pretty much on the game, which is pretty cool. Because our industry is fun. It could be
Yes.
fun. We're not getting dirty like we used to. Now they have gloves, but before that, it was dirty. It was dirty. Now it's like stick it, blow it, and peel it, cut it, and it comes off or something like
That's
that.
right. Yeah, it's
I think
easy.
that-
Yeah, we're pretty excited. We're very optimistic about the future. We're optimistic not only about the industry, but just about our ability to perform within it. We see that there's quite a consolidating going on. I think in all
Always.
large and small format. I believe there's a bigger consolidating now than possibly ever before. The baby boomers are retiring. They're either closing shop, or they're successing the company, or they're selling it, or something.
Trying something.
So we're working hard to kind of fill the gaps, because there are gaps, and we've done our fair share in finding them, and we're kind of in the middle right now of revamping again. There's going to be more updates to the website, more content, and more hires, more space. So we're growing like crazy.
That's the way it should go, upwards and onwards, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Very cool.
Sure.
Cool. So before I cut you off, anything you want to add last minute? Anything you want anybody to hear?
I would just say that, like you said, it's an exciting industry. We're excited about it, and we love the success stories from our clients. I love getting those emails back. I had a phone call like a couple minutes before we got on. The client sees the sign that we did for him. He says, hey man, I love it. Looks awesome. It's great. I love being a part of other companies' success. We allow them to be seen within their marketplace. With the vehicle wraps and things that we do, we're allowing these companies to advertise in the neighborhoods they're already servicing. Their efficiency goes up, their effectiveness goes up, their employees are happier, they're working closer to home. It benefits everybody, and it's fun to do. So, yeah.
I always say that without us, the printer, whatever category you're working in, right? Without us, the printer, nobody else has a business.
Yeah.
Right? They can't promote, they can't advertise, they can't do instructions, directions, whatever. So on that note, I would just say to everybody listening who's a printer, you need to charge for what we do, because people are dropping their prices again. I'm getting pissed off. Charge what you do. We deserve it. Things are expensive. Machines are expensive, and people are becoming more expensive.
That's
right. Don't be afraid.
Price is what you pay, but value is what you get. So.
Well, do what you do in your business, what you like to do in your personal life. That's what I tell people.
Yep.
If you drink cheap wine in your personal life, well, then there's nothing for us to talk about. But,
right. Yeah.
Right? But otherwise, keep it up.
Yeah.
Anyways, on that note, Taylor, just kudos and thank you for joining. Thank you for being part of the industry. I love the age. I love the attitude. I love the vibe. I like the passion, the excitement. Reach out to me anytime you want for anything. It's all good. We could do another one of these. We'd love to keep up with you and know what's up. To everybody else, as always, I am so grateful that you listen. You'll only know that if you've made it to the end with me. If you made it to the end and you're listening, thank you. If there's anything you'd like to hear me talk about, let me know. If you want to be on with me, let me know. Otherwise, it's Warren Werbitt for What They Think, and I love print.